Hello and welcome back to Aligned Fitness Living. It's your transformation coach, Mike Thornton here. Excited that we are here on module number 7, where we talk about your environment, because everything that we've been talking up to this point has to do with your environment. You know, we've talked about posting your mission and your vision and your purpose and your beliefs about yourself somewhere where you can see it every single day. We've talked about what you should eat, and that of course includes what's in your kitchen and things like that. So one of the main underlying things I want to talk about with your environment today is just some guidelines. You know, that's what this whole program has been about. It's not about perfection. It's been about aligning yourself with certain guidelines. First of all, aligning these different areas and making sure that a set of guidelines is followed in each area. And I think now that you're at this point of the module, the only other module we have left is to talk about your maintenance program. That what we've done is we've taken each one of these areas and said, okay, how can we align each of these areas to be in alignment with what your goals, what your mission, what your purpose is, what your core beliefs are about yourself. And so one of the main things we want to talk about with your environment today is to make sure that you're setting yourself up to where you're not self-sabotaging. And sometimes self-sabotage comes in the way of sabotage from other people as well. And why do I say that that's a form of self-sabotage? It's a form of self-sabotage because we get to choose the environments in which we put ourselves in most of the time. Or we get to choose the attitudes that we have when we're in those environments. Or we get to choose the people that we want to associate with within those environments, in home, in our workplace, and when we go out socially. So, you know, what we're setting up here is for a lifestyle, not of perfection, but of certain guidelines that we're following. And so some of those guidelines need to include how you set up your environment. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is an aligned environment that is going to, and when we talk about environment, I don't know if you remember way back from when you probably read the sales page for this presentation, but we talked about it's not about changing everything, you know, right at the same time, and which we haven't. We've been doing this over time, which I hope the gradual process has helped you integrate these things gradually, so that it's not, you know, something that's so drastic that you can't handle it. But one of the things we talk about with environment is that your environment should evolve over time. And that's what we've been doing, is we've been evolving your environment, your internal environment, your external environment. And now we just want to say, all right, well, smack dab here are the guidelines that you should follow. They're not anything that's crazy, and probably some things that you might be doing already, hopefully. But this is just to emphasize those points. So let's get to it. We're talking about Module 7, an aligned environment. Now, let me just say, we're not talking about your internal environment today. Okay, we've done that. We've talked about aligned emotions. We've talked about aligned mindsets and things like that. So everything we're talking about right now is what's, you know, physically on the outside. I want to narrow your environments down, and of course, there are other little small niche, environments that we could probably, put into each one of these. But basically, it breaks down to where you spend most of your time, and where you spend most of your time is at home. You're also spending most of your time at your workplace. You're also spending a lot of time with your crew, your entourage, if you will, your friends, your family, some really close coworkers. So we want to talk about your crew, because nobody wants to bring you down like your crew. When you have special events, that weekend barbecue that's coming up, or plans at the lake with friends, or maybe it's going out to dinner with somebody. Maybe it's a special engagement where you're dressing up and going out to a presentation. Special events, it puts you in a different environment and where you feel like you have more control. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about just the grocery store, the shopping market environment as well. So let's get to it. Let's talk about your home first. Probably the one environment that you have the most control over is your home. So here are some home guidelines that I want you to follow. And again, these notes are available for download. So feel free to just listen to the presentation. If you want to take some extra notes, that's fine as well. But the rule number 1 is to not keep your pitfalls in your home. Don't keep the things that are going to tempt you and make you go off your course in your home. That might go for your kids as well. And you say, well, I've got kids and they really like this stuff. And let me do a quick little sidebar with you. We have an opportunity as parents to really set the tone for our kids for now, but especially for later as well. And it's something that we kind of go, well, yeah, they're kids, they can get away with a lot of things. Well, those kids grow up to be grown-ups. And we have the opportunity as the grown-ups of the house to really help them form some structure and some guidelines as well, so that they're forming a little aligned fitness lifestyle as well. Does that mean they never get to have cupcakes? No, my kids love cupcakes. We're going to talk about cupcakes in a second. But the point is, the more of the stuff that is the junk that you can keep out of your house that is tempting to you, keep it out of the house. Okay? And here is the second part of that. Go out for a single serving of whatever it is that you love when you're finally at a 9 or a 10. Okay? Remember our little 1 through 10 scale? 1 through 8 it can wait, 9 or 10 begin, and then we ask ourselves a series of questions. Do I really want this? Do I want what it will bring me or what I think it will bring me? And if you end up going, well, geez, I want it, and you're at a 10, then you have it. And let's take ice cream, for example. We try not to keep a whole lot of ice cream and cakes and things like that in the house, but we will definitely take our kids out for ice cream as well. Now, every once in a while, we might have a social gathering or something where there's ice cream and, it ends up here. But we try not to keep those things in the house all the time. It's not a regular thing that's in the house. Because if it's in the house, then people will eat it. And it's not because people are weak. It's because sometimes we, are operating not consciously but subconsciously, and we go, "Ooh, ice cream! I want that." And the 1 through 10 scale doesn't kick in. Okay, so I think a lot of times people think, well, if I just have willpower, then I should be able to have all these things in my house, and my willpower should kick in. You're not superhuman. Because you're not perfect. Remember, that's been a whole theme throughout this entire presentation. But you can plan around your imperfections. So one of the planning points, one of the guidelines we're going to follow is to keep that stuff out of the house. And if you want it, go get it. My kids love donuts. But we don't go buy a box of donuts and keep it in the house because they'll scarf them down. And we might as well. And they don't need multiple donuts. So, we might have a day of the week where we go get one donut, a single serving of something that's sweet. Because everybody knows you don't need really more than one. Would you eat more than one? Sure. But the point is, don't keep your pitfalls in your house. Keep them outside of your house and go get them when you're finally at a 10, okay? Very good. Guideline number 2 is to stock less in your pantry and more in the fridge. And if you can go back to the aligned meal planning and aligned eating guidelines, you remember the types of foods that we talked about. We want to have more fresh produce, more fruits, more vegetables, more lean meats, things that need to be refrigerated or that will go bad if you don't eat them within the week. Those are the healthier types of foods. If you start thinking about things that are processed, things that can last a very long time in your pantry without going bad, those are typically things that are going to have a higher impact on your blood sugar level and things that don't have a lot of nutritional value to them. So get in the habit of starting to think, what can I stock my refrigerator with and my fruit bowls with, okay, as opposed to what can we stock in the pantry. Now, will you have some things that you stock in the pantry? Sure. But try to create a mind shift that says, what can we get from the grocery store today that goes in the fridge, okay? Also, for certain items, even if they're healthier items, try to buy single serving packages or make your own. And here's a perfect example. I love almonds. I love all different types of nuts. I like pecans. I like nuts, you name it. They're delicious. I love them. They're also great for you. However, they're not great for you in large quantities. And they're very calorie rich items. A handful of almonds could be 100 calories. So if you go, oh, these almonds are fantastic, and you take 5 handfuls, you just put 500 calories in your body. And they're not that filling. So what we do is if we get a large container of nuts and we bring it home, because, hey, we're trying to save money like everybody else. So you get the large container. You might not want to buy the single servings because they're more expensive. But we take little Ziploc bags and we measure them out. And then we seal them and we put them in the pantry. So they're already, in the serving size that we want. So if we go, man, some almonds sound great, and we grab it, we know that it's the right amount of calories, and we're going to stay on track because we've done the planning ahead of time. Because we're not perfect. If we were perfect, then we could reach into that can of almonds and take the right amount each time. but we're not. So we plan ahead. We plan around our imperfections. Remember? Okay. So that goes for anything that you can pre-package. Do that and do it ahead of time. Pick a day. I think in the planning, your meal planning module, we talked about maybe doing this on a Saturday or Sunday at the right before the week begins, and having your day where you plan. Here is a great rule of thumb, a great guideline to follow for aligned eating. Get in the habit of eating at the kitchen table. And before I get to the rest of this, the reason why eating at the kitchen table is because you're setting a spot in your home that is simply a place to eat, as opposed to eating in front of the television, or eating while you're reading a book or reading a magazine, or eating while you're in front of the computer. Because when you're doing those things, it takes your mindset away from the food that is in front of you. And so you oftentimes will mindlessly eat. And we talk about mindful eating with this program. So you designate your eating place as the kitchen table. Also, as you're preparing your food, don't be a nibbler while you're preparing, because every calorie counts. And don't finish up the scraps, okay? Like if you're clearing your kids' plates and they have a few extra whatevers, because those calories count as well. Okay, every calorie counts, and while we've discussed that you don't have to be a calorie counter for the rest of your life, that you have to go recalibrate every once in a while, you have to remind yourself that every calorie counts. I once trained a gentleman that he thought he was pretty funny, and he was, but he said that if it was on a toothpick, then it didn't count. So if you're sampling food, or if you're at a party and if it fits on a toothpick, so you could have a sausage with cheese and cracker, but if it was on a toothpick, it didn't count. Well, every calorie does count. Okay, so keep that in mind. Also, with your home guidelines, try to keep alcohol out of the house, but enjoy it out as well. Enjoy it out, because let's face it. Come on, I've been doing this for a while, and I'm a human being as well. When we have stuff to drink in the house, oftentimes we'll drink that was in the house. Because we like it, and sometimes we use it for the wrong reasons. But point being is that if it's not in the house, and you treat it just like our very first step, don't keep your pitfalls in your home, but go out for a single serving of them, then when it's the weekend and you want to go out and enjoy a dinner and a glass of wine, then you can. But the more you keep that stuff in the house, the more you're going to be tempted to, or not tempted, but just subconsciously be drawn towards it and not be mindful about it. And again, we're not asking you to be superhuman. We're not asking you to be perfect. The best way to stay on track is to keep those things out of the house. And then finally, hopefully you're doing this part already, which is to keep your purpose, your goals, your mission, and your vision where you can see them every single day. We talked about putting them on your mirror. Some people put them on their refrigerator. Some people put them just wherever they're going to be drawn to it every single day as a reminder. And hopefully you're going through it, your 5-minute mindset every morning like we talked about, just so that you start each and every day knowing this is what's important to me. This is the future that I'm trying to create. These are the things that I believe that are going to empower me and move me closer to my goals. And keep those in front of you. All right, so that is your home environment. Your work environment is not that. One of my favorite movies right here is Office Space, and this is the part where he's saying, I didn't get a piece of cake, I need a piece of cake. Because, you deal with this stuff all the time in your work environment. People have birthdays, and there's cakes, and there's going away parties, and then there's catering, there's the meetings that they bring the food into. And a lot of times we go, man, I just don't have control over this because... that's I work here and that's what they brought in. Boom. We already talked about this a long time ago. That's a limiting belief. So you can reframe that, and I'm sure you already know how, but let's go through some work environment guidelines, okay? Take your lunch. Bam. Right there. Bam. The answer is take your lunch. And I know that a lot of you work in places where lunch is brought in, and that's okay. You simply say, oh, well, I brought my lunch today. Do you see how easy that was? I brought my lunch today. So it doesn't matter what they're serving on the tray, and if it's not conducive towards your goals, you brought your lunch today. And what you brought is going to move you closer towards your goals, okay? Now, oh, well, Mike, I work at a place where, everybody in my department goes out to lunch every single day. Okay, so if you don't bring your lunch and you're going to go out to eat, we have some different guidelines, okay? But let's go back to the cater. If catered in, you can still take your own lunch. You can make choices ahead of time if you find out what is going to be there, and you can skip the cookie and the potato chips, all right? I know that a lot of times when people have meetings and they bring in the old sandwich, deli sandwich with potato chips and the cookies and things like that, and Coca-Cola or whatever it might be, skip all that. Just make a decision ahead of time that you're not going to have that stuff, and that you're going to use the 5-minute mindful eating as well as you start to put food into your body. It doesn't have to go out the window just because you're in a meeting, okay? So you make wise decisions and use your 5-minute mindset when it comes to eating. Don't keep pitfalls in your drawers or a candy dish on your desk. Just don't do it. There's no point in doing it. You go, oh, well, I get hungry, and if I have a couple of ding-dongs in my drawer or whatever it might be, or anything that is not working you closer towards your goals, get it out of your drawers. Don't keep it in your office. Don't keep it in your cubicle. Whatever your work environment is, get it out of there. You don't need a candy dish on your desk. I will tell you what, your coworkers will get over it if there's not a bowl of candy, a bowl of sugar on your desk. And we all know who that bowl is really for, don't we? I think we do. So point being is, get that stuff out of there. It doesn't belong there. And you go, well, I get hungry throughout the day. Great. Bring your lunch and pack your snacks. Pick anything off our snack list that's a healthy snack that's going to move you closer to your goal. It's going to regulate your blood sugar. It's going to give you protein that your body needs to build lean muscle tissue. It's much better than sugar and fat. Plain and simple. Okay? Have set times that you plan to eat and stick to it. This goes back to something that you should already be practicing, but we're talking about in a work environment right now, is have set times that you plan to eat and stick to it. And that includes snacks, okay? And I'm going to come back to that because there's something else I think I put in a later bullet point about set times. If you're eating out, refer to the later section that we're going to talk about when you have special occasions where you're eating out. We're going to talk about that in just a second. So in case you're thinking, well, what if we go out to eat? What am I supposed to do? We're going to cover it in just a second. Here we go. Don't work through your mealtime, okay? A lot of times, and I work with clients in corporate environments all the time, every single day. And I hear a lot of times that I just didn't have time to eat because we had a deadline and I had to work through lunch and so forth. Number one, your performance on your job is going to be that much better if you fuel your body and you feel good and you have energy in your blood and you're not crashing. Okay, so you'll do better. Your performance at work will do better if you do eat during your lunch. Okay, you don't have to take the full hour, but you need to fuel your body. So don't work through your meals because what that will do is it'll slow your metabolism, and possibly you may overeat the next time you get a chance. But that slower metabolism is going to make you burn calories slower, maybe store more body fat, and have less energy, and probably increase your stress. So don't skip your meals. Oh, there's another one. Oh, okay. So I know that at home it's a lot easier to keep a reminder of what your purpose and your mission and your vision and your core beliefs are about yourself because it's your personal environment, and that you might not want to have those things at work. So what I'm going to suggest you do is to keep a reminder of your purpose and your vision and your beliefs somewhere at your desk, whether it be a picture of your family, whether it be a picture of anything that's symbolic to you that says, this is what I'm working toward. This is what I believe about myself. Any little anchor that you can create, any kind of little trigger that you can create in your work environment that can remind you of what those things are. Because it's very easy to get stressed at work and to have everything fly out the window, because as soon as it starts to get a little stressed, everything goes out the window. And we need to remind ourselves of why it is important when stress arrives that we stay on track, because stress is part of the equation. Okay? All right. Let's talk about your crew. Anybody recognize these guys? Entourage, yes. One of my wife's favorite shows when it was on TV. So, yeah, your crew, your posse, your entourage, the people that you surround yourselves with. This might be family members, really close coworkers, and your friends, okay? So what do you do when your crew is trying to bring you down? Because I'm here to tell you that some of the closest people to you are the ones that want to bring you down when you are trying to do good. It's not because they don't love you. It's just because for some reason it's built in our human nature that if somebody else is up here and we're down here, to try to reach up, the easiest way for us to get the same level is to pull them down. So it's going to happen, and here is what I think you should align yourself with steps-wise to combat that. Combat that sounds a little combative, doesn't it? Well, not be combative, but to be confident in what your answer is when this type of thing happens. So speak up and have a planned response that is cordial and stick to it. Okay, no matter who it is, but go through different scenarios in your mind of that one person that you know who they are. They're gonna say something to you, and it's a family member, and they're gonna say, "What's the matter? You look like you're skin and bones," or whatever it might be. So I give you an example. Okay, you got to eat with friends, and you're gonna pass on the calamari, and you say, they go, "You're on another one of those diets, huh? Well, come on, live a little." And your planned response could be, "No, not a diet this time, just kind of planning around the rest of my day. You guys go ahead, I'm fine." Boom. Done. No big deal. But if you embellish them, if you go, "Oh, come on, guys, I'm really trying hard here, and it's not easy, and I'm really trying to watch my calories, and I'm really trying to do this program," and they're just it's going to add more fuel to the fire. So have a planned response and move on. That's it. Have a planned response. "Oh, well, your mom says, you're skin and bones. You need to eat." I know a lot of families. My wife is Hispanic, and I come from a part Italian family, and it's like, "Come on, eat more, eat more." And have a planned response and just say, "You know what? I've had enough to eat, but thank you. If I get hungry again, I'll have some more." That's it. So often, and that's going to lead to my next point. Don't eat to make others feel comfortable. Focus on the conversation instead, and have your planned response. Don't eat to make other people feel comfortable. Don't eat to make other people feel comfortable, because they're not the ones that will have to deal with your high blood pressure, your high blood sugar, the excess weight, the fatigue that comes from carrying that excess weight, the heart conditions that might come along with that extra weight, the decrease in your life expectancy that might come along with these health conditions. Don't eat to make other people feel comfortable, because it's your life. It's your body. It's your health. It's your fitness. Understand? So have your planned response. If necessary, and if you're comfortable with the people that are with you, be vocal about your goals and your desire for their support. And it doesn't have to be like, "Oh, come on," you're not begging. You're not saying, "Oh, come on, guys, don't give me a hard time. I could really use your support here." You're coming from a level of confidence, and you're saying, "Hey, this is important to me, and if we're going to have these conversations, I want you to be supportive of that." Okay? And if they can't be supportive of that, there might be some people that you have to cut out of your life, whether it be temporarily or permanently, or avoid them, and then explain why if needed. Now, I'm a very positive person, and I think that all of this can be done in a very positive way, in a very constructive way. So if every time you go out to lunch with a set of coworkers or some friends, they're giving you a hard time, then you simply say, "Listen, this is important to me, and it doesn't make me feel super great about coming out to lunch all the time if this is going to be the topic of discussion. So I tell you what, you guys, you go ahead and feel free to have lunch without me, and if we want to change the topic of discussion, then I'm back in all the way. This is not something I want to bring up every single time we're out." And you be vocal about it. Now, I know that may sound uncomfortable, but communication is key if we're talking about your crew. Communication is key if we're talking about anything that's important to you. But when we're talking about the people around you, you can't be the quiet person that lets other people try to put things in your head. Remember a long time ago in Module 1, we talked about, your mindset being influenced by others, or you taking control of your mindset. And so one of the things that's very important is that you communicate with the people that are important to you. And if they're in your crew, they're important to you. All right? So what about those special events? What about that barbecue? What about that lake house party? What about the black tie affair? What about the whatever it might be? What about those special events? Well, rule number 1, don't go hungry. Have something before you leave your home that matches your goals, matches where you want to go in life, okay? My wife thinks I'm funny because a lot of times, we'll be getting ready to leave to go out to dinner, and I might have like a little protein bar or something like that. And she's like, "What are you doing? We're going out to eat." And I said, "I know. That's the point. I don't want to go hungry, because if I go hungry and they put chips and salsa on the table, then I'm going to eat chips and salsa. And I know that I don't want to eat chips and salsa. Does chips and salsa taste great? Absolutely. But do I want to eat chips and salsa? Not really. No, I don't. It doesn't really match my goals." Okay? So have something that matches your goals, that's conducive to your new fitness lifestyle. Before you go, have something to eat. Don't go hungry. That way you can skip the appetizers and the snack table. And feel free to sip your water, sip a tonic, sip something instead, and then focus on conversation. Focus on the social aspect of the event and not the food. I go over to family members' houses all the time. My parents love to have the family over to the house. And when we get there, there's always lots of food on the table. And that's not even the meal. That's just the food that's on the table when we get there. And so it's a really good idea to not go super hungry. Now, you might say, well, isn't that rude if people put out a spread and not to eat? Well, is it rude? No. Have a little if you want to. But point is, don't go hungry. Because if you go hungry and you eat all that stuff that's maybe not conducive to your goals, then you're going to have a tough time moving closer to your goals. Also, again, go back to the slide or two before. Don't feel like you got to eat to make other people feel good about themselves. If somebody says, "Hey, how come you're not having any of this spread?" Go ahead. You can say something like, "You know what? I had a late lunch. I just had something to hold me over a little earlier. I tell you what, when I'm hungry, I'm going to help myself. This looks delicious." And that's it. Squash it. Don't let people force food down your throat. It's your life. Go back to all those health reasons I just listed, not even a minute or two ago. It's your life. All right? There you go. There's an example. "Thanks, I had a late lunch, but I will definitely help myself when I'm ready. It looks fantastic. Man, you worked really hard on this. Your presentation is fantastic." Compliment them. I'm not trying to be flaky, but I'm trying to change the tone. Instead of the tone being, "Hey, you, eat," it's, "Hey, I will eat, but this looks great. You must have worked really hard on this." Change of direction. Okay? When you're eating at special events, do your absolute best to stick to the veggies. That might be salads. That might be a vegetable tray. That might mean, if there's steamed vegetables, or even if there's drenched vegetables, or whatever it might be, try to stick to the veggies and the lean meats, and try to do just a little bit of simple math in your head. Be a little mindful of what you're putting into your body. Am I telling you to break out your phone and start, pulling up calorie counters and going, "All right, I think that's about..." No, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just trying to say, think about it, what you're putting in your body, and go, wonder, that looks like that's about 4 ounces of meat. Oh yeah, I remember about how much is in 4 ounces of meat. That might be like 2 cups of broccoli. And practice your mindful eating, okay? Eat for 5 minutes. Pause for 5 minutes. If you're still hungry, eat for another 5 minutes. Okay? Don't you love the 5-minute mindset? I do. Also, for drinks, because we're talking about special events, and you're thinking, okay, you just told me that if I go to a special event, I can have that glass of wine, right? Of course. Part of living a fitness lifestyle is being able to make room for the things that we enjoy that might not be that great for us. But here's a little saying that I like to use, is to put off your first drink as long as you can. Allow yourself to have it and say to yourself, "I will enjoy it when I'm ready. I'm just not going to have it yet." So if you get there and they're offering drinks and people are having, you're saying to yourself, "Oh, I'm going to have my drink. I'm just not going to have it yet." And you put it off as long as you can. I mean, what if you have a few tonic waters or a glass of water while everybody else has had 3 beverages, and then you say, "You know what, I'm going to have that drink now." Okay? Well, then if you had kept pace with everybody else, you just eliminated about 450 to 500 calories from, your consumption. Okay? And probably also doing a better job on your liver anyway. The point is, say to yourself, because this is important, you're not saying, no, I can't have it. gosh, this is going to be a miserable night because I really want to have a cocktail. No, you're saying, I'm going to have it. I'm just going to put it off as long as I can. That's it. And then you put it off as long as you can. You might surprise yourself. Okay? And then, of course, I already mentioned this, but don't make the focus of the event on the food. Make it about the social aspect of it. You know, if you're at an art museum, make it about the art. If you're at a concert, make it about the music. If you're at some, whatever it is, make it about the social aspect of what you're doing, and don't make it about the food. So often we make our social events about the food when it really shouldn't be. Change the attention. And if you want to, yes, food is part of it, and sample the food, just don't make that your main focal point. Okay? Shopping market. We're on our last one. Can you feel it? Shopping market. Don't go hungry. Sound familiar? Eat something before you go that meets your needs. Science has shown us that if we go to the supermarket hungry, and I put shopping market, it should be supermarket. If we go to the supermarket hungry, you're going to end up buying a lot more, spending a lot more money, and probably buying some things that aren't working you towards your goals. Okay? So don't go hungry. Have something before you go. Have a list and try not to impulse buy. So as you're formulating your list, you're using your list about the foods that you're going to plan for your meal plans. You're thinking about foods that will go more in the fridge, right, instead of the pantry. And you stick to your list and you don't impulse buy. Oh, but those Lay's potato chips, they sound so good. They're not on my list. They're not going to move me closer to my goals. Do I really want them? Or do I want what I think they'll give me? What would they really give me? Yeah, I probably don't really want them. Okay? So have a list. Try not to impulse buy. These are guidelines. That's all that aligned fitness living is. It's guidelines, and trying to stick to the guidelines as closely as possible. Stay to the perimeter. Stay to the perimeter, sir. Stay behind the red line. No. Stay to the perimeter where you will find mostly fresh foods that meet your goals. I think we already talked about this with the outline of the supermarket. Okay, I don't know why I put shopping market. That sounds silly. The supermarket, the grocery store, the fresh vegetables and the produce and the lean meats and the fresh fish and the dairy. They're all on the perimeter. And then you go to the everything that's stacked on those shelves. You know why they're in the middle? Because they're stacked on shelves where they can sit there forever, because they're processed foods mostly that don't have a whole lot of good nutrient value to them. So stay to the perimeter. Avoid sampling. It's one of the best parts, right? But again, every calorie counts. Get used to saying that to yourself. You know what? Every calorie counts. Every calorie counts. Even if it's on a toothpick. Remember my example? And so here you go. I want you to practice this. Ma'am, would you like to try this sample today? No, thank you. That's all you have to say. No, thank you. No, thank you. Your subconscious impulse, you might say, I do want to try that. It's Godiva chocolate. But you have that little thing called conscious mind between stimulus and response where you get to go, do I really want that? Or do I want what I think it will bring me? I think I want what I think it will bring me, but what will it actually bring me? And this can all happen very quickly, especially if you practice. And I know you've been practicing. So, try it again. No, thank you. Doesn't that sound nice? Buy individually packaged foods if possible. We talked about that. And if not, then pre-package when you get home. We already talked about it, the almond example. Okay? Make sure you have Ziploc bags on your list. Okay, because we're going to use them. We're going to pre-package stuff. Okay? And here's something I want you to get in the habit of doing. If you are buying something that has a label on it, read the label. The serving size, the calories, the protein, the fat, and the carbs, etc. And you go, well, I don't have time for that. Yeah, you do. You really do. Because if you're buying mostly fruits and vegetables, guess what? They don't put nutrient values on fresh produce. Do you know why? They don't need to. That stuff's pretty good for you, okay? Now, when you get into things that start to have labels on them, then you want to read it so that you know what you're putting into your body, and you're building your knowledge base. You're building, what you know so that you can make educated decisions moving forward. It's only a few times where you got to look at the foods that you're buying on habitually, every time you go to the grocery store before you go, I know how many calories are in it, okay? And this goes for your meats and things as well. I know meats are in the fresh area that we talked about, but, a chicken breast is going to be very different than a center cut pork chop, which is going to be very different from a ribeye, which is going to be very different from a fillet of salmon. So read that nutrient information as well, okay? Get in the habit of doing that. Make it part of your guidelines. Okay, so here we are. We're at the end of your environment module, and I want you to remember this. Self-sabotage is a choice. Self-sabotage is a choice. You go, well, no, nobody wants to self-sabotage, and everybody wants to be on the right track, and I don't want to really hurt myself and pull myself down when I'm trying to do something good. I'm telling you that it's a choice. It's a choice that has to be made ahead of time, okay? Because if you choose not to create an environment, and if you choose to not plan things ahead like we're talking about, then you are choosing to be vulnerable to self-sabotage. But if you choose to control your environment, if you choose to control the things that you can control going into other environments, if you can control your mindset, if you can use all these things we've talked about in this program to plan ahead, then you are choosing to wear a suit of armor when self-sabotage moments might come up. Okay? So self-sabotage is a choice. Being sabotaged by other people is a choice. If you choose not to be prepared for those moments, then you're choosing to be vulnerable at those moments. And if you choose to be prepared for those moments, you're choosing to be strong and wearing a suit of armor at those moments. That's something that you got to sink in. Let it sink in. And I'll leave you with this. Both of these statements are true. You've all heard failing to plan is planning to fail, right? Sounds so negative, doesn't it? Well, I didn't have a plan, so I guess I was planning to fail, okay? But if that's true, so is this. Successful planning is planning to succeed. Successful planning is planning to succeed. So plan. Don't be perfect. Plan. Plan around your imperfections. And when you're doing that, you're truly living a fitness lifestyle. We've got one more module to cover. We're going to talk about maintenance. I bet you could probably tell me everything that's going to be in that module, because what we're going to do is just recap everything and put yourself not on autopilot, but in a sense an autopilot that knows how to self-correct at certain moments and recalibrate at times. We'll talk about that in the next module. In the meantime, I'll be rooting you on.